Hello, good evening. Welcome to Axiom Curb Flux News. Today's date's the 16th of January 2015. And to start us off for this evening, we've got Bok. Hello, Bok, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Yeah, doing very good.
Good,
Well,
good.
what's your flux for today?
Today we've got an article regarding our health and foods. Um, I've read numerous amounts of articles like this, and they all generally say the same things. But I found this one nice because it really said a whole lot in this one page. So here's the title here. Here's exactly what whole wheat bread, sugar, and vegetable oil does to cells of your body. Stop eating these in brackets. This is by Mike Geary, aka the Nutrition Watchdog, certified nutrition specialist, best-selling author, January 16th, 2015. You often hear vague claims in the news that sugar is bad for you, or that wheat and gluten are bad for you. But do you truly understand what these foods do to your insides? Most people don't understand the reasons. The fact is that some of the foods I listed in the article title above can only destroy your hormones and metabolism. Can not only destroy your hormones and metabolism, sorry, but can also cause you to get heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. Not only that, but as you'll see below, there's a common plant-based food that you probably eat in restaurants frequently. I bet you ate this at least once in the last week. And this common plant food is proven to cause heart attacks. You'll see what I mean as you read the article below. We'll also show you exactly what you need to understand to eat in a way that boosts your metabolism, balances hormones, prevents heart attacks, stops cancer from forming in your body, and assures that you never get type 2 diabetes regardless of your bad genetics. So let's get right to it. Why is wheat killing you? Yes, even whole wheat. There are three main reasons why wheat is a terrible food for your body and does more harm than good. Reason one, wheat causes blood sugar disruption, glycation of your cells, increases aging, weight gain, and boosts diabetes risk. Before I tell you why wheat can actually speed up the aging process in your body, let's clarify some simple biochemistry in your body. This deals with glycation in your body and substances called advanced glycation end products. These nasty little compounds called ages speed up the aging process in your body, including damage over time to your organs, your joints, and of course, wrinkled skin. So with that said, what is the biggest factors that increase production of ages inside your body? This may surprise you, but high blood sugar levels over time dramatically increase age-accelerating ages in your body. This is why type 2 diabetes many times appear that they have not aged well and look older than their real age. But this age-increasing effect is not just limited to diabetics. So let's get back to whole wheat. Let's get back to how whole wheat relates to this. Here's a little known fact, often covered up by the massive marketing campaigns by giant food companies that want you to believe that whole wheat is healthy for you. But the fact is that wheat contains a very unusual type of carbohydrate not found in other foods called amylopectin A, which has been found in some tests to spike your blood sugar higher than even pure table sugar. Wow. In fact, amylopectin A from wheat raises your blood sugar more than almost any other carbohydrate source on Earth based on blood sugar response testing that's documented in studies. This means that wheat-based foods such as breads, bagels, cereals, muffins, and other baked goods often cause much higher blood sugar levels than most other carbohydrate sources. And if you don't believe me, here's something you should know. I ran personal blood sugar tests on myself using a blood glucometer about 45 minutes after eating 2 slices of whole wheat bread versus eating a bowl of oatmeal with equivalent grams of carbohydrates. The blood sugar test results of wheat versus oatmeal. 2 slices of whole wheat toast, 45 minutes after consumption, blood sugar spiked from 86 fasting level to 155. 1 bowl of oatmeal, equivalent grams of carbs to 2 slices of whole wheat toast, 45 minutes after consumption, blood sugar increased from 86 fasting to level 112. As you know, the higher your average blood sugar levels are over time, the more ages are formed inside your body, which makes you age faster. Clearly, whole wheat spiked blood sugar much higher than the oatmeal. And if you don't know, 155 is a massive blood sugar reading that will certainly contribute to faster aging if you eat wheat frequently. And most people eat wheat without even thinking about it almost every meal. Not only that, the blood sugar spikes caused by wheat also make your body pump out more insulin, which makes you pack on more body fat. Not fun at all. The massive blood sugar spikes from eating wheat daily cause damage over time to your blood sugar regulation system, harming your pancreas, causing insulin resistance, and eventually causing type 2 diabetes. I think we have a strong case against eating so-called healthy wheat. Reason 2, gluten and other gut-damaging compounds. The topic of gluten is on fire in the media lately, but most people are confused as to whether there's any real health risks with gluten for the average person that doesn't have celiac disease. The truth is, even if you are not officially gluten intolerant or gluten sensitive, there are hundreds of published studies that indicate that gluten can cause inflammation in your digestive system and even cause permeability in your gut, which can lead to a health condition that's on the rise lately called leaky gut, as well as other digestive issues and autoimmune problems. Scientists theorize that the reason gluten is causing these digestive system problems is due to the excessive hybridization of wheat over the last 50 years, which has created newly modified gluten molecules that are foreign to the human digestive system compared to the ancient wheat that humans ate for several thousand years historically, and even compared to the wheat that your grandparents ate 50 years ago. Reason 3, anti-nutrients and mineral blockers in wheat. Now, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. The third reason that wheat is terrible for you is that it contains what's called anti-nutrients, which are naturally occurring compounds in the wheat plant, but can cause undesirable effects in humans that eat too much of them. One of these anti-nutrients is called phytates, which blocks the absorption in your body of certain minerals like zinc, iron, manganese, and calcium if you eat wheat too often. And as you know, these are very important. Zinc, iron, manganese, and calcium, the right kind of calcium. Again, most people eat wheat almost every meal: cereal in the morning, bread on sandwich at lunch, and pasta or bread at dinner. So this can cause a mineral deficiency in your body over time that leads to many health conditions. Wheat has other mineral blockers and anti-nutrients aside from phytates, such as lectins. Lectins are another constituent of wheat that causes gut irritation, yet another reason to minimize or eliminate wheat from your diet. There's absolutely nothing essential about wheat in the human diet. It simply does more harm than good, period. Many people often ask me, but what about the fiber in wheat? I thought that's why it's supposed to be healthy. Sorry, you can get all of the fiber you need from fruits, veggies, and nuts without the digestive system damage and massive blood sugar issues that are caused by wheat. Note, it's important to keep reading this page because I'll show you how to get access to all of my best secrets for avoiding wheat, but still eating amazingly healthy or delicious meals that boost your metabolism, balance your hormones, fight diabetes and cancer, and also reduce abdominal fat It's easier than you think, so don't think that eating healthy has to be boring, like so many people foolishly believe. Um, and so we've talked about the oils, the importance of oil before. You know, we stressed upon olive oil and coconut oil. I won't go into the rest. But if you do want to get, more about what this man says, um, I found this article, and I believe you can just Google the fat burning kitchen, or his name here is Mike Geary, aka the Nutrition Watchdog, best-selling author. So that's it on this article, guys. What do you think of that? There's a whole lot of information there.
Oh wow, excellent. I've always thought bread's not really good for you, and like everybody else, it's been part of my main diet for since
Yeah.
I can remember.
Oh,
But
same here. I'll admit it. I'm kind of like a bread addict, and I do kind of eat bread daily. But what I've learned um, is how to eat breads that are not made of these particular grains, such as corn, wheat, and you generally want to avoid the main grains. And so that's how I caught on to things such as buckwheat flour. I mean, there are other alternatives.
yeah, well, I'm all ears because I think it's time that we knocked it on the head, to be honest, because we, like most people my age, we seem to have these problems, and we namby-pamby about, or a lot of people go to the doctor and say, well, look, I can't quite understand why I can't get rid of this gut problem or whatever, and the answer could be right under their nose, and it is. Most people eat bread with every meal. It seems to be, and it's supermarket rubbish, absolute rubbish. You can't even call it bread.
No.
That's what people
Right.
eat.
But
Like
most of the wheat bread found in grocery stores is really just white bread that's been dyed brown. Not only that, but even whole bread has added high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, usually if
yeah,
you read the labels, it'll say something like enriched whole wheat flour. That's typically what you'll read on most ingredients.
well, my
If it's so good for you, why did they have to enrich it? It's the
uh,
same thing for if milk is so good, why do they have to add vitamin D to it?
And it's same for the Canadian water bock. How come it has to be distilled?
well, I
And
shall
it
be
seems to
putting
be
in my
these
order
right.
for my buckwheat this week. Definitely.
Well, it seems to be these are the components. One is this glycation, and the other one is this amylopectin A.
I'm not familiar with that bock.
So,
I've
if
never
someone who
heard.
wants to look into these things deeper, there's the medical terminology for this. But just from reading that article, it made sense to me. Um, yeah, it's usually something people eat on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, they used to say 6 slices a day is the well-balanced way. So they used to say about bread, an advert many years ago, Bock. But
Right.
you know, yeah. Well, that's a really good, informative article. It certainly made me think a lot. So thanks very much for that, Bock.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys.
Yeah, nice article that. Nice find. All right, Andy, what's your flux for today?
Oh
Over to you.
right. Let's have a look. I'm gonna nick the screen. Oh, there we go. Oh look, it's that site again. This is about what's going on at the moment, and there's a bit of a panic going on. So I think this is the start of of a lot of things, turmoil in the markets this year. It says here, and I'll read the article, Swiss National Bank tells the world, we're getting off this train. Craig Hemke, TF Metals report. The Swiss National Bank, SNB, sent shockwaves through the financial markets today, January the 15th, 2015, when they announced the Swiss franc would no longer be pegged to the euro. The shock grew in intensity when they further announced not only would they continue with the NIRP negative interest rate policy, but they were in fact going to steal even more currency from savers by dropping their negative interest rates from minus 0.25 to minus 0.75, which of course means that if you had an equivalent of $100,000 in the SNB this afternoon, you would have lost 750 in one day. So $750 in one day. Craig explains all the details and implications of the Swiss leaving the euro behind and saving themselves. Since 2008, the entire financial world has been turned upside down. In late 2011, the Swiss decided to peg their currency to the euro, in essence giving up their national currency for the debt and death-soaked euro experiment. Keep in mind that England, the home of the Bank of England, is not a member of the European Union, nor do they have currency pegged to the euro. That is a story for another day, but it's very important to the overall central bank's theft of nation-states like Switzerland. When the Swiss pegged the franc to the euro, the Swiss people sold their sovereignty to the European Union. Approximately 22% of the people wanted their sovereignty back and voted November the 30th, 2014 to repatriate their gold and redeem their nation. Unfortunately, the other 78% less the people that did not vote said they were perfectly happy being debt slaves to their overlords at the European Central Bank. Thomas Jordan, the president, was actually campaigning against the gold repatriation movement, which in light of today's announcement seems to be a contrarian move. Why would vote against reclaiming your gold and then go do a complete 180-degree turn against your own policy? This seems like it is going to have an ugly ending. Craig guides us through all the twists and turns of what's happened, why he believes it's happened, and what the central planners may have up their sleeves. What about all that gold that's been leaving the London vaults, 26 million ounces before the end of 2013? The vaults were empty back then, and China is building 2,000 metric ton vaults all over China filled with something, I suppose it says. What role is the Shanghai Corporation organising going to play an upcoming paradigm shift? What do most of the Western world know about the tsunami that is virtually at the end of their block? How much gold and silver do you possess? Is it enough? Basically, he goes on about give this a listen. We hope a little something as well as entertain a little. Thank you for joining us, and please don't forget to share the comments. Blah blah blah. He's just going to say about, you need to have some assets because the shit's going to hit the fan pretty soon. And basically, if you, I'll follow that up very quickly with what happened today in the market. Swiss franc surge rocks currency brokers, burns banks. The surprise surge in the Swiss franc left currency brokers and banks worldwide licking their wounds on Friday, with at least 2 brokers declaring insolvency and the others warning of heavy losses. Switzerland's central bank shocked foreign exchange Forex and other financial markets on Thursday when it scrapped its 3-year bid to stop the franc from strengthening. Within minutes, the franc strengthened by 30%, later settling into a 15% gain against the euro. The shockwaves were felt in currency markets across the globe, and some brokers could not withstand the jolt. In London, currency broker Alpara UK, sponsor of English Premier League team West Ham United, declared insolvency Friday after clients' losses linked to the sharp rise in the Swiss franc were passed on the company. Well, goodbye West Ham United, nice meeting you. How'd you go? The news revealed in the statement followed a similar announcement by Global Brokers New Zealand in New Zealand declaring a total loss of operating capital. And in New York, leading forex broker Axiom said it may be in breach of some regulatory capital requirements after clients left it with losses of up to 225 million, 149 million euros, $225 million that is. The recent move on the Swiss franc caused by the Swiss National Bank's unexpected policy reversal of capping the Swiss franc against the euro has resulted in the exceptional volatility and extreme lack of liquidity, Alpari UK said in a shock statement. This has resulted in the majority of clients sustaining losses which has exceeded their account equity. Where a client cannot cover this loss, it is passed on to us. This has forced Alpari UK Limited to confirm today that it has entered into insolvency. In Auckland, Global Brokers New Zealand announced it was closing after it sustained losses that meant it could no longer meet New Zealand regulators' minimum capital requirements. The FXCM shares were supplied by the New York Stock Exchange after they plunged nearly 90% in a pre-market trade due to the broker's admission that some clients lost heavily on the franc's big shift and their accounts could not cover the losses. Berg later reported FXCM was in talks with Jefferies Group for a £200 million cash lifeline. In London, IG Group announced that its losses arising from matter would total up to about £30 million, $46 million, but stressed its extremely robust financial position. Rival Index, meanwhile, reassured clients has suffered. I mean, basically, just saying, Barclays goes on to say here, British Barclays lost tens of millions of dollars, according to a source who requested anonymity. The Swiss surprise also wrong-footed a number of big banks. Banks whose shares slumped 1.6% on Friday declined to comment on its losses tied to the Swiss franc. Deutsche Bank lost on the order of $150 million, according to a record by Wall Street Journal. The German bank declined to comment when contacted. This is little ripples at the moment, but I think the tide is on its way. I don't know what you fellas think about it, but I mean that other article. This is just ridiculous. It's pretty.
Well, going back to your article there, look where it quotes at the top, and
Which one?
the one you're on, yeah, no, the one you was on.
Yeah.
It quotes at the top, the very top of that article. We're getting off this train, and you know why that is, don't you, Andy? Yeah, I'll tell you the reason.
Ramming speed.
There you go. It needs to know.
Yeah, ramming speed, just a bit. But anyway, yeah, it's this here. I've lost my train of thought now. You surprised me there, PJ. But this is, look, where it says here, but they were in fact going to steal even more money, more currency from savers by dropping their negative interest rate, dropping it to
Oh, they love the negative interest.
minus 0.25 to minus 0.75, so
0.5 then, basically, yeah.
yeah, but minus, PJ, when you pay them money to put it in their bank.
You know, if you can add zeros the other way, you can certainly add zeros the other way.
Exactly, yeah. They've done their own work.
Come on, people, wake up, for crying out loud. Oh, dear.
But some of these banks are in trouble now, and you know, I think they might appreciate it if perhaps you could write them a promissory note or two.
Yeah.
Maybe you could bail them out.
Bank of staff, yeah. Well, they're quite, you know.
Wouldn't that be funny?
They're quite welcome to my promissory notes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Bank of staff bailout.
Yep, I'll bail them out, shall I? How much do they want? A couple of trillion? Well, we can do that with one promissory note. That's not a problem. It takes me about 5 seconds to print up, probably even longer than it does for the Bank of England, but there you go. Over to you, PJ.
Okay, thanks very much, Andy, for that.
Okay, all yours.
Here goes my ramming speed. Look at his face.
That's the psychopath, there he is.
And there he is, look, the silver
Yeah.
spoon.
Yeah, silver spoon.
Okay, so we're going to kick off. UK and US announced joint anti-terror plans. David Cameron and Barack Obama announced new measures to combat extremism, promising it's a fight, in quote, we know how we will win. They have announced joint plans to fight the global threat of Islamist extremism following the deadly attacks in France. Speaking after two-day talks at the White House, Britain's Prime Minister said the US and UK are united in their drive to fight poisonous and fanatical ideology. But look no further, need be. The announcement comes amid fears about the spread of terrorism after last week's Paris attacks that left 17 people dead and the rest of more than 24 people in anti-terror raids in Belgium, Germany and France. Mr Cameron said a joint US-UK group will examine additional ways to identify and counter extremist threats in both countries. The two countries will also share intelligence in an effort to learn from one another's experiences. Britain and America both face threats to our national security from people who hate what our countries stand for and are determined to do us harm, Mr Cameron said. In recent weeks, we have seen appalling attacks in Paris, in Peshawar, in Nigeria. The world is sickened by this terrorism. So we will not be standing alone in this fight. We know what we are up against and we know how we will win. There's a picture of Obama. He called Cameron not only a bro, but a great friend, amongst other things. Both leaders also pledged to do everything in our power to help France to seek the justice that is needed. Mr Obama said the attacks on Paris underline the need for Western nations to come up with new ways to tackle extremism, which go beyond a security crackdown. He pointed to the need for European governments to do more to assimilate their Muslim minority populations. The Paris attacks underscored again how terrorist groups like the Al-Qaeda and the ISIL are actively trying to inspire and support people within our own countries to engage in terrorism, the President said. We both recognise that intelligence and military force alone is not going to solve this problem, so we are also going to keep working together on strategies to counter violent extremism that radicalises, recruits and mobilises people, especially young people, to engage in terrorism. This is a problem that causes great heartache and tragedy and destruction, but it is one that ultimately we are going to defeat. Mr Obama said the US will hold a summit in February on countering violent extremism and the threat of radicalised Islamist fighters returning home from Syria. Meanwhile, the UK and US also announced plans to stage cyber war games to boost both countries' resistance to hack attacks. Mr Cameron had arrived in Washington with a request from the President to help persuade American technology companies to give governments more access to encrypted communications that terrorists may use to plot attacks. The Prime Minister's policy proposals have caused concern on both sides of the Atlantic about the prospect of security efforts encroaching on privacy. Mr. Obama did not take a position on Mr. Cameron's proposal, but said it was important to be able to keep tabs on terrorists using the internet. Mr. Cameron and Mr. Obama also used the conference to once again express their admiration for one another. The President paid tribute to Mr. Cameron as a great friend and an outstanding partner, while Mr. Cameron said the President was a good friend who shared the same values. John Kerry hugs the French President in the image. So that's about the gist of the joint anti-terror plans taken place over 2 days involving David Cameron and Barack Obama. Moving into this other article, still in connection with the terrorism that have been taken place over the past weeks. Belgian terrorist cell linked to targeting of news agents selling Charlie Hebdo. Belgian terrorist cell had been planning to attack people selling or queuing to buy Charlie Hebdo produced 1 week after the Paris attack. So as I was saying the other day, don't get involved, don't go and buy it. It's just as well because, you know, these guys on the Telegraph are reporting that what we've been seeing lately was looking towards the next event that these guys was apparently staging. So I'll speak about this article. The Belgian terrorist cell was linked to threats of violence targeting newsagents selling the latest copy on Friday night, according to documents found in a flat where 2 terror suspects were killed. The 2 men killed during a firefight with Belgian special forces in Berviers on Thursday night had been named locally as Ridwan Hagiawi and Tariq Jadung, or Jidong, I'm not sure how to pronounce these names, who had recently returned from fighting in Syria. So these 2 guys have apparently returned from fighting in Syria. Belgian Secret Service agents called in the armed police raid when intelligence indicated the terror cell was about to carry out an attack. Following the raid, police found 4 Kalashnikov AK-47 rifles, 4 handguns, ammunition and explosives. The terrorist cell was also equipped with police uniforms, radio, false documentation and an important sum of cash. Documents found at the house on 16 Rue de la Colline also pointed to a terrorist attack on shops selling the current issue of the Charlie Hebdo depicting a weeping Prophet Muhammad and the slogan Tout est pardon, which is French for all is forgiven. Apologise for my French. Earlier in the week, armed police units had been called out to protect newsagents following intelligence of a threat to target police selling or queuing people selling or queuing to buy the magazine produced 1 week after Islamist terrorist attack, which killed 12 people in Paris. Investigators believe the men were poised to carry out attacks while impersonating anti-terrorist police officers, targeting either police stations, courts or shops and other public places. What is certain is that a major attack by this terrorist cell was imminent, said Eric van der Sip, which appears to be the only person we're actually hearing from regarding this. The only official person that I've managed to find any articles on. The spokesman for Belgium's federal prosecutor. The Hagio 23, also known as Abu Khalid al-Maghribi, had been under surveillance by Belgium's Secret Service after returning from fighting with radical Islamists in Syria. He left his job as a cook to travel to Syria via Turkey last January after telling his parents he was going to visit relatives in their country of origin, Morocco. The other man killed, Jadon, is thought to be of Chechen origin. The identification of the two suspects who were killed is in progress. We have a very fair idea of who they are. A third man wounded in the shootout has been named as Maroun E. 25. He has been charged with terrorist offences but denies all charges. 4 other people were charged along with Maroun E. him for participating in the activities of a terrorist group. In recent decades, it has become home to foreign communities from Pakistan, Morocco, Afghanistan, and Chechnya in search of cheap housing. In 2008, the city was identified as a stronghold of Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. The authorities estimate that 335 Belgians have gone to fight in Syria and Iraq in recent years, putting it top of the list of European nations exporting jihadi fighters in proportion to its small population of 11 million. So there's plenty more on this article. If you really do want to get into what's happening or what's being put across in the mainstream, it's really an article you should read for yourself. But that's just a brief report on the latest attack in Belgium. Apart from the one that happened earlier today, which I did have a link on, I'll try and find that in a minute. But before I do report on that, I'm going to bring it to this one. Terror police arrest teen at Stansted Airport. Anti-terrorism officers are questioning an 18-year-old woman after she arrived on a flight to Stansted Airport. An 18-year-old woman has been arrested at Stansted Airport on suspicion of terrorism offences. The anti-terror officers seized the teenager when she arrived on a flight at around 4 p.m. on Friday today. Scotland Yard said she has been taken to a central London police station for questioning. She was arrested on suspicion of the preparation of terrorist acts and membership of a banned organisation. It is unclear at this stage where the teenager was travelling from. As part of the investigation, a 21-year-old man was arrested in Hackney on the 29th of October on suspicion of assisting another to commit acts of terrorism. He has since been rebailed to a date in January. The search at the residential address in Hackney was also carried out. So I'll put it over to you guys for your comments so far. Meanwhile, I'll find the other article I was going to discuss.
Very briefly, I don't know if you could pull up the first article again, PJ. Oh, never mind. I think I can do it. Well, yeah, I can. Just go down the page a bit, and it says something about Cameron. Says we know exactly who we're dealing with. Is it? It says somewhere. Did I misquoted it? It says we know who we are dealing with.
No, he said we know how we're going to win it.
No, before that he says we know who we're.
Oh yeah, we know what we are up against and we know how we will win.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, of course. I mean, they played well. If you look at how these radical terrorists, whatever you want to call them, come about through, it seems to be linked through these people coming back from Syria, which were part of the, like I said the other day, this Free Syrian Army fighting with those against Assad, who the West has been backing with arms, etc., etc., or the Islamic State, or have left the Free Syrian Army and gone to the Islamic State. And of course, we can go way back to the Mujahideen. So he should know who they're up against, because you could sort of, there's a case there for sort of saying, well, they helped create them, didn't they? So they should know who they're dealing with, or exactly what they're dealing with, because they helped to bring them about, didn't they not? I mean, if you look at it like that. So
well, the history's been involved. I don't really say these people direct. They've been responsible for the past decades. But yeah, I can see what you're trying to get at. Yeah.
they seem to, that in that Belgian one, they seem to have all the gear. I'm just wondering whether that's something that was sent from sponsors. Anyway, just entertaining that thought, as can't say yes or no, but just putting it out there.
Any questions? Any comments, Bok, on the articles
Yeah,
I've
I
covered
was just going
so
to say,
far?
well, it's obviously it's been organized and it's been backed by someone. This isn't just a bunch of college students, and I guess time will tell. Hopefully.
Yeah. I'll just bring you back to the remaining article that I was going to cover. Latest Paris hostage crisis ends without bloodshed. A suspect who claimed he had a Kalashnikov and grenades gives himself up. Dozen of armed police had surrounded post office in Paris suburb, 7 miles from the city centre. Suspect had claimed he was heavily armed with a Kalashnikov and grenades and had taken several hostages. But police say he turned out to be a depressed and unstable local man on medication who had romantic problems. Dramatic pictures show suspects emerging from the post office as armed police point their weapons at his head. Suspect turned out to be a 31-year-old. Some 80 heavily armed raid police commandos arrived within minutes and surrounded the post office, where the man was said to be holding at least 2 hostages. Also, in Niger, protest on the Charlie Hebdo has left 4 dead. At least 4 people have been killed in violent protest against French magazine in Niger's second city of Zinda. A number of churches and the French Cultural Centre were among several buildings raided and set alight. One policeman, 3 civilians were killed in the protests in Zinda after Friday prayers, a police source told Reuters. Some of the protesters were armed with bows and arrows as well as clubs. The clashes were very violent in some places, the source added. Of course, this article from the one and only, or the soon-to-be one and lonely. Local residents told Reuters that demonstrators had set fire to churches and raided shops that were run by Christians. The protesters are crying out in local Xhosa language, "Charlie is Satan, let hell engulf those supporting Charlie," a local shopkeeper said by telephone. The French Cultural Centre there also came under attack. The centre's director, Calmi Bauer, said an angry crowd of around 50 people had smashed the building's door and set fire to the cafeteria, library and offices. So it's spreading quite far, well out of Europe now. It's going into Africa, apparently.
Yeah, that's not the first time.
Well, for out of Europe, we've only had in Europe, Paris, Belgium, Germany. This is the only nearest connection to anything is a protest that involved violent protests involving at least 4 people who've been killed.
Well,
I
I
think
was saying
Canada.
it's not the first time that an incident like that this happened, and blood wasn't spilt elsewhere.
Oh no, I would just say like it's
Guys go crazy. They go crazy.
yeah, definitely, no doubt.
And then, as soon as I saw an angry mob scenario, I thought of just like, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, that something happened in, was it Japan? Where they threw money apparently, and then the crowd went crazy, and some people died from the trampling.
China.
That was in China, yeah, and that was
Yeah.
just, imagine an angry mob.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the New Year's celebration. New Year's
They
Eve
released numbers of I think 30-something people, but I'd been given sources telling me that the numbers was actually quite a lot more. And in China they have some sort of cap where they can only officially declare a certain amount of people dead in some sort of catastrophic, event like that. And if they actually reveal the true amount, then some shift change within government is needed, and to avoid that, they apparently keep the numbers statistics down to a bare minimum as possible. I'm not sure if there's much truth into that, but it was something I was told, so I thought I'd share that.
Yeah, well, Africa's, especially that part of Africa, Nigeria, and then you get like the Congo. I mean, what goes on. I mean, everybody remembers the Rwanda massacre.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of people, and that was all, shall we say, set out, wasn't it? It turns out in the end. The Tutsis and the Hutus and all that business. So Africa's not really, um, it's a place where a lot of big atrocities do take place. But yeah, there's states, this whole thing is getting out of hand quite quickly now, since the events of Paris, and yeah. Again, I suppose all you can do is wait to see how it all unfolds. But there's going to be a lot of backlash I feel, with rights. I think here. I think what we've been hearing about SOPA and all these other things, and internet privacy, etc. I think. They're going to see a whole different deal in a very short time by the looks of it. Well, we just have to wait and see. But I'm not surprised with the Africa. I think not. I think Niger wasn't Gaddafi very close to Niger, or had connections with Niger. I can't remember, something to do with that. Perhaps you can remind me, PJ. But I think.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. We're just gonna play this final little short minute video of Obama's speech.
As many of you know, David recently noted how comfortable the two of us are working together. This sent some commentators into a tizzy. Some explored the linguistic origins of the word bro. Others debated its definition. Several analyzed how this term has evolved over time. Some seemed confused and asked, what does Obama mean? And so let me put the speculation to rest. Put simply, David is a great friend. He's one of my closest and most trusted partners in the world. On many of the most pressing challenges that we face, we see the world the same way. We recognize that, as I've said before, when the United States and the United Kingdom stand together, our nations are more secure and our people are more prosperous, and the world is safer and more just. Great Britain is our indispensable partner.
Indispensable partner.
Indispensable poodle. Some people would say.
when he called him his great friend, he's being right, because David Cameron is from Great Britain.
Yep. Okay, well, that's about it for today, I think. Do join us tomorrow for more Flux news, and we will return. Thanks for watching.